sort of setting the scene that, yeah, I think you've started the recording there. Yeah, so also every time we will be recording this whole class, and then you will get the recording afterwards, and you can revise the recording, which is always really good especially when we're doing more technical stuff. Then you can revise it and you can look at it later. Also for my distance students, this is where you can also be basically in the class, even though you are not here, and you can also then be getting the exact same information that everybody else gets. Right, so let's start and share. Gonna share. Right, so can you all see my screen?
It's not through yet on the side, Prof.
Okay, so let's just wait a bit. Okay, tell me when you can see it. Or do you think I should put off my camera? Is it taking too much data?
I'm not sure. I see quite a few people have their hands up. Can you maybe just put into the chat if you can see Prof's screen?
Okay.
It seems like there's
a few that. Okay, so nobody can see it. Let me just try again. Let me just share it. Okay, if I just can you see it now?
It's attempting to come through. It's not up yet, but I think it's trying to come through. Okay, I see there's quite a few people in the chat who say yes, they can see at least.
Okay, so you can see it. Okay, so I want to make sure everybody can see the screen. Okay, I've just put off my camera, if that may be easier. Okay, so is everybody happy? Ms. Miller, can you see it?
No, I can't see it, but okay. I do suspect it's because I'm on the browser.
Okay, fine. I think then I'll continue. I'm going to assume that if you can't see the screen, just put it in the chat. Okay. Right, so let's continue. Okay, so we are going to be starting off today with setting the scene, 20 July 2023 IT developments. And first of all, we're just going to give a brief overview of, what's basically in the study guide. So that and our study guide, you'll see, is really a very basic skeleton. And we will provide you with a lot more information and documentation as time passes. So the study guide that we are now viewing is just the most basic information that you normally would have. So this module is 16 credits, meaning that you need to spend 160 hours in this course, and you will see that we are going to attempt to actually really keep you busy for 160 hours throughout this course. NQF level 7, and you need to have passed CMPG323, 311, and so on. Okay, so that's basically what's required on this level. And here is our contact information for Ms. Miller. You'll see that is her email address that you can contact with her with, and also only consultation request by appointment. And the same for me. I am on Potchefstroom campus. I'm there mostly. The days that you will get me there are on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. For the Potch group, the class group, they will be on Tuesdays. It was also on Ifundi. Tuesdays at 2:30, there will be a session, a face-to-face session where I will meet with you and do additional work with you there. And my office is then building G3 room G08. And again, also a consultation by appointment. Right, so what is this course all about? The main thing that you have to ask yourself is, where am I today and where do I want to go? Now, you're at the point in your sort of academic career where you now have to start transitioning from being a student into somebody that is employable. Because most of you will now be actually attempting to look for jobs And when you look through, all the jobs that are out there, you may feel a bit overwhelmed and perhaps not really ready for it. And the whole idea of this course is to get you more ready for industry. And what we find, from the comments that we had from students last year is that they were very pleased in the end with what they experienced in this course, because they really felt that they acquired new skills that really perhaps put them at an advantage to students from other institutions. And that is this whole idea of this subject. You're at a certain point now, you have a number of skills, you've done a number of courses, you know about databases, you know about AI, you know about Java and C Sharp and a little bit of web and so on. But yeah, we need to just, up you a bit and give you more skills to become a competent software developer. So we want to move you from here to there. Okay, and basically we're here. Here is basically where you are today as someone that can do some things, but you are really not ready to walk into industry. Some of you have had experience. Some of you I know are doing part-time work and have a bit more of experience, but most I would say 90% of the group have a sort of a basic knowledge and exposure to what they really can do in terms of what is expected of them. But basically, we want to take you to there where you will be someone very competent, understanding technology, understanding more about the real world, and also, a lot of the soft skills are important. Planning. How can I plan my project better? How do I understand myself as a software developer? What type of person am I? And so where is my interest? Because not all of us, there's so much out there that not all of you are going to go into the same type of field. And we want to give you a sense of, so at the end of this semester, you are really going to understand, what, I never knew about this technology, but actually this is really interesting and I really want to do this one. And that's the sort of thing that we want to convey to you, is just all the options out there and how to get it. And then, one of the main things that we want to teach you in this term is Google is your friend, how to work independently, how to take some programming task and then actually go and do it and feel confident that you can do it. And we are not going to be doing group work in this course. Every single project that you will be doing will be submitted individually. Not to say that we don't want you to talk to each other and collaborate. Because, when you go into industry, you get paid a salary for doing work individually. You do not get a salary for working. I mean, you do work in groups of people, but each person does his own task. It would really not be worthwhile for a company to get people to do the same thing, all of them copying each other from each other. So yeah, that's something that we'll talk about later, but we want to make you an independent developer and an independent thinker, somebody that also can work under pressure. And you'll see that this is going to be the best 5 months of your life, where you are really going to be changing your view on who you are as someone in the IT field. Okay, so basically what is out there? Now out there is so much going on. And that's what we want to expose you to. There's a whole range of, environments and opportunities that we can sort of go into. So if you look at this diagram, it's down from analysis, design, development, testing, deployment, maintenance, and people sit in industry all across this range of jobs. So you may be very intimidated by, someone who's such a good C++ or Java developer and think you're not going to, but you don't have to. If you're not that type of person, there's so much more out there for you. So we want to expose you to this idea of looking at the range of opportunity. So if you look at analysis, for example, we see there sits project managers, product owners. Then we go to design, and that's where we see system architects and interface designers. In terms of development, now that's where we more focus in this course is front end and back end developers. Testing, we're going to look at testing, how important testing is and how to automate testing. Deployment in terms of, DevOps, database administrators, and then maintenance, so our focus really sitting in the middle there, development and testing. But yeah, there's a range of stuff out there. And that's what, I want to show you. You are here and you're going to go there, just getting a sense of what that would be for you. And so when you start, I also just want to say, many people feel very stressed about saying, so when I go into industry, how am I ever going to cope? And you really feel very anxious. And I just want to say to you, don't feel anxious, You are going to go into an environment where you will be seen as a junior software developer. And industry is not going to expect of you to immediately walk into a job running and immediately contribute, as a senior person would. It's not expected. So just relax and know that, you are going to be seen as an apprentice. Apprentice is somebody that still has to learn a lot. And they will know that you are somebody that has just started off. And you can probably do 1 or 2 languages and 1 or 2 frameworks. So you're not really, somebody that they can really give complex work to. And that you will require constant supervision and mentoring, and that people will be looking at your code until they are satisfied that you can do code on your own. Because, people have invested a lot of money in their software products, and they have clients that they have to keep satisfied. So they're not going to push a junior into something like that. So you will be getting low-level type of tasks initially to prove yourself. And so what we hope to achieve in this course is to make you that developer that is just going to move a little bit faster. Sometimes in industry, you get these people who are walking into industry that really take a lot of time to nurture and to mentor. And it's very frustrating for industry, where we would like to expose you a little bit more and get you to a level that when you start working, you will move quickly and that they will be happy with you as software developers. Yeah, and so if you go to the job environment, now you can have a look and see, this is just sort of the common type of things that we would see, is that what does a software developer have to be able to do? Now here, for example, is a junior API developer. So I'm not going to go through everything, but what they want normally is something like a degree, and then you need to know things like what is Docker and CI/CD and AWS Code Commit, Netcore, Java, test-driven development, and here's Scrum and Kanban. So these are the sorts of things that we want to show you, okay? And then here we have another one, a junior Android developer. What does he have to know about? MVC, MVP, REST APIs, JSON, Git. What is Git? Working as a, so those are the things that we need here. Here's another one, a junior developer, C# and VB.NET. So you need to know the .NET environment, things like WCF, Azure DevOps, Git, MVC, API, unit testing. Again, the type of things that we want to show you this term. And you are going to be learning, here's an intern front-end software developer. You can see a lot of basic stuff that they also have to know that we will be covering. Yeah, so, where you are today, a lot of these technologies, not much about. Hopefully at the end of the term, you'll be able to be more proficient and understand them. And the most important thing for me is just having the confidence that you will be able to learn something new quickly. That's what we want in industry. We don't want people who say, you know what, I was at university and I know Java and I know this and that. This is what I can do. That's not what industry wants. Software technologies develop so quickly that we want people who are adaptable and with confidence can say, you know what, here's a new technology. Yes, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do it. I'm not scared. And that's the person we want in industry and that we will be proud of because everything changes, so quickly. Like, today we see with ChatGPT and tooling, software development is moving at a very fast rate with those AI tools that are coming out more and more. And you have to know that you must be someone that can, be worthwhile to your company, that they will not want to replace you one day with these AI tools. Then also something that's really nice for you to look at is graduate programs, where you can go in. And again, what do we need here? We need good academic results, but very important, verbal, written English communication skills. You must be able to do that in English. That is what's out there. Strong attention to detail, but also look at a bigger picture. Understand all the fundamentals. Now this is very important, a hunger to continually improve by constantly evolving and adapting your skills. So this is really what we want this year to see, that we want to see you guys developing. This is what I want to see from you, that you are not scared to say, yes, I don't have the skill, I can quickly learn it. Because if you want to go in as a good, these graduate programs are fantastic places to go to really learn. And that's what they want from you. If you sit in an interview and they say, you know what, if I want to teach you, I want you to do a new technology, and you say, oh, no, I can't do that. You will not get the job. That's for sure. They don't want to hear that. They want to see that you say, yes, you know what, I have been doing this, I can do it. I'm the type of person that you want. Okay, and then we want to see someone that can embrace a challenge and is driven by excellence. That is how we'll see how you'll do your work. A passion to build strong relationships and a great career. So you're really passionate about what you do, and also be friendly. And that's what we see very often, with the emails you are sending us, the way that you are behaving. Be professional, be courteous, and think about who you are dealing with. And I do not ever want to see any of you, just calling us by our first names or anything like that. We are your lecturers, and you will treat us in that way, in a professional manner. Okay. And so so in the end, you are going to be ending up, going to an interview, and you'll sit there as a certain type of person with certain approaches to life. And you know what? When people look at you, they're not just looking at your paper and your qualification and your marks. That's what they want to see that. But they look at your whole approach to life, And here's just a little bit of a joke, that sometimes the recruiters also don't always know what's going on. And, so those of you who know Java and JavaScript will know what this joke is all about. But yeah, you don't always there's sometimes a disconnect between what recruiters want, because recruiters don't always understand IT people, and they don't always know what to ask. They just see all this lists of skills and stuff, and they think that Java and JavaScript may be the same thing. Okay, so what is this course all about in general? So let's look at the diagram on the right-hand side, where we see a general architecture of most systems. So what we see basically is at the back, we have our backend system where we have our databases and our code that is running our services that we are exposing. And in the other side, we have our desktop applications, our PCs, our mobile phones, and whatever else you can view as a user. And in the middle of this is the API. That is your application programming interface. It is something that we then create to interface between backend and frontend. And, on the left-hand side, you'll see that is just a little nice, so you see lots of these diagrams out there. And so what do we see at the back end? We have the kitchen, and the kitchen is working away, making the food. At the front end, we see all the nice tables, and what's in the middle are the waiters running up and down between the kitchen and the dining room, and they are serving. They are serving all the content that comes from the kitchen. So this is what this course is all about. We are going to be teaching you a little bit of what's going on in the front end. We're going to teach you the API. We're going to teach you the back end and some other stuff. And so, yeah, so and this is a general architecture of most systems that we see out there. And, you'll see, you can see lots of jobs. Do you want to be front end developer, back end developer, and API also is being part of that. Okay, so we are going to basically spend 15 weeks this term. You work it out, it's exactly around 15 weeks always. So we have to get to 160 hours. So more or less, what are we going to be doing? We are going to be doing some video tutorials. Every week we will do a tutorial or a class where we will convey to you certain skills of what you need for that week. And we are going to be doing our real best to give you the content that you need. But just remember that it's not sufficient. You have to go and do a lot of training in your own time. So this is the whole idea of this course, is to get you to understand how to do that. So just be, clear. Let's just be clear about this, that you cannot just watch our videos and listen to us because it's only this hour and I see my other group then for another hour. But it's not enough. You have to spend a lot of time in your own time doing YouTube videos and other training that you find relevant. So that is your self-study and preparation that you will spend you can see that is about 4 hours a week that we expect of you to give a total of 60 hours. And then you are going to be spending a lot of time on your project deliverables and assessments. And now if you total up the hours in a week, you'll see it comes to 11 hours. So you should be spending 11 hours a week on this course. So if you work it out, if one day, if you take a full day, it's 8 hours. So you should be spending 1.5 days per week, whenever you want to do it, in night or on a Saturday, whenever you feel like it. But you should, and that's the minimum. And I'm going to warn you now that you're probably spending more. It all depends on how fast you work and how effective you are. Okay, so what is the purpose of this module? Okay, so it's your last module. And so it is actually the place where we integrate what you've learned and we give you new knowledge and new experience. And we want to expose you to what's waiting for you when you are going out there. And we want to see that you can demonstrate that you can. And this is in the purpose of the module. It's been defined like this. You must be able to work independently, confidently, and be a lifelong learner. We want to expose you to industry, new developments, collaboration, and then community engagement. We want to see how you could the community we talk about here is not you as a group. This community is the community out there, like, a Python community or a UiPath community or a .NET framework core community, so those are the communities that we want you to see starting to engage in, because that's where, you'll find really good content. And you obviously can talk to each other. So we don't mind, obviously, whenever you work with people, you can collaborate, but you must never, ever present someone else's work as your own. If we catch you, you get naught, because that is then cheating. Okay, so we've already mentioned it's a 16 credit module, 11 hours a week, and so on. And we are going to be doing a number of projects. We will provide you with all the dates and everything. And this is essentially what happens to you. And this is a common thing, I think, for every single student and every computer science student all over the world, all over. So in first year, you feel very confident when you do your first year small little programs and you say, yay, I'm amazing. And then in second year, you start getting a reality check, data structures, and so forth. It makes you think about things. But in third year, and that's where you are now, you want to go home. You don't want to be here. You don't feel happy. But in fourth year, next year, you say, welcome to my YouTube channel. And this is where I would like to see. We actually did have students last year who did start a YouTube channel where they were proficiently providing information to others who would be interested in that, because they've learned now to actually master something in their own time for themselves and share with others what they've learned. So yeah, this is unfortunately a painful experience, but it is necessary. So we are going to be looking at many things: client-server environment, the browser, HTML, architectural design patterns, RESTful APIs, .NET Core, database linking, workload, security, testing, RPA, robotic process automation, UiPath, and Power BI. So it's a lot of things, but you are really going to see you can handle it, and it's going to be enjoyable, and you're going to be feeling much more confident at the end of this course. No, there is no textbook. We will provide you with everything we can, a lot of resources, lots of links to information. But we say internet research and troubleshooting is encouraged. And like I've spoken about, the communities and the developer support. And then very important, if you miss these classes, then you are behind. Because we are working in sprints of 2 weeks. You'll see that there's a tight schedule. So let's say you miss this class. At least here you can sit and you can listen to what we are saying and you can follow. If you miss the class, then you are behind, because you have to watch it. Like, we will put up the recording as soon as we can, but let's say the recording goes up later in the afternoon. Now you watch it. Now you have to spend that time on watching it. You're just behind. So just come to these classes. It's once a week at 9:30. Make sure you're up to date with what we say. When you are sitting there, concentrate and focus. Don't watch on the side some video or some YouTube video, TikTok thing or whatever. Sit and make notes. If we say this is important, look at that document. You know how many times people say to us, but you never said that, and it's in the video, and you don't listen. And that's the other thing we see. people don't listen. And this is something you'll have to learn here, is that you take notes. You take notes of dates, of certain things we tell you, of certain ways of doing things, because if you miss it, you miss it. You know, they say if you snooze, you lose. And don't snooze, you know, be awake, do your work, and be confident in what you are doing. And don't come and tell me we didn't say it, because it's, you know, I know you have to watch these videos. It's not always straightforward. We will provide other documentation, but it's up to you to make sure that you don't miss anything that we are saying. Okay, and that's been all for me for now, and I'm going to hand over now to Ms. Miller.
Perfect. Thank you, Prof. All right. Please just let me know as soon as you can see my screen. Let me just quickly get it up. Here we go. Okay, is it coming through on that side?
Yeah, we can see.
Perfect. All right, so I think I'm going to probably be repeating some of what Prof. Kutsia said, but I think, you know, a lot of what we're going to be talking about throughout this module is going to be something that we need to emphasize so that your experience into industry is going to be as fruitful as we can possibly make it. So something I just want to, you know, get out there straight off the bat. You know, I've been in your shoes. I've been in this module, you know, not so long ago. I understand that from where you're sitting now, you know, it is a very stressful situation. You might either be very excited for this module or you might be very scared. And I think right now, either of those are okay. I think as you start to get involved with the project and you see what we're expecting of you and you feel the guidance that comes through, you'll start to feel better. I think something that Prof. Kutsia also mentioned that I think is really important for you to start grasping now already is that we are here to help you, but you need to put in the effort that you want to see come out of this. So with that being said, there are a few ground rules that we want to go through for this semester, specifically with how we're going to be managing classes, how we're going to be working with one another, how we're going to be managing the semester, and essentially what we're trying to do and what we're putting forward here so that we can help you, but so that you can also help us. Something that, you know, I think we haven't really been good at in the past, and something I really do want to get better at, and something that I urge you to start practicing is mutual respect for one another and for us. So if I call you out during the semester and I tell you that if you talk to a client like that, you're most likely going to lose your job, it is coming from a place of understanding. There are certain ways that we can talk to people. I know that this is going to be one of those things where we actually test each other's patience, because you might feel that you know, are upset with the way that your project is marked or something along those lines. But if you're going to approach the situation with, you know, hostility, you're going to get hostility back. And that's how it works in industry as well. You know, you have to find a way to communicate with people properly, get your point across without being condescending or nasty. That is one of the biggest challenges that we face in industry, is actually, especially in a consulting space, is actually talking to clients, even when they're making silly mistakes, and being able to get our points across that is productive, because at the end of the day, we need to do what is best for the project. So that is something that we're going to be practicing quite a lot of, and I'm going to call you out on this throughout the semester. So if you are going to email me with hostility, please expect that kind of response back, not the hostility, the calling out of the hostility, that it won't be tolerated in a client's environment. Then if there are any queries for projects, we will make it available throughout the semester. There will be a form that you can fill in to tell us what project you want to query, what the issue is. There'll be an opportunity for you to submit your query with a screenshot. And the reason we want to do it that way is so that we can put all of those mails one side in a folder that we can go look at. If we get a lot of project queries coming in via mail, it becomes really difficult for us, because it floods our mailbox, and we then, you know, can't really deal with students who have proper queries or, you know, concerns about work that we need to deal with. So sometimes those mails get lost. So we've created a mechanism that will allow us to do, you know, the proper management of project queries. But what we do request is that those be done within 7 days after the marks have been released. After the 7-day mark has been closed, we won't accept any more project queries. And if you come to me at the end of the semester and say that your project 2 was incorrect or was incorrectly marked, and it wasn't raised within those 7 days, there's not much I'm going to do for you, because we have the 7-day rule. Then also, if you don't understand, please ask. There's no such thing as a stupid question. We are here to help you. And if we can't help you, we will point you in the direction of, you know, resources or someone who can. We can get industry experts in to assist with some of the materials that you might want to explore further. There are quite a few different initiatives that we'll be running throughout the semester that we will expose you to, and we will bring in, you know, more support for you guys to actually leverage off of. Then something quite cute, we're going to be adding the Edward Monckton tab on Ifundi. If you ever feel a little bit hopeless or you need some inspiration, go onto the Monctonator. It's actually quite cute. It gives you a nice little meme, and it really is quite nice. It gives some good inspiration when you need it the most. With that, there will also be a career portal that we'll add onto Fundi, and we will have a LinkedIn group, which there's a link to further on in the presentation. Our expectation is that you will join this LinkedIn group. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, please create one. That is going to be what you use to apply for a lot of jobs now within the next year. So please make sure you pay very specific attention to what that LinkedIn profile should look like. Make sure that it advertises you well, because I know when I'm looking for graduates, that's the first place that I go. I know that CVs don't really, convey much of what a grad has been doing, because obviously you've been studying for the last 2 years. So for me, if I want to get a good understanding of, who I'm hiring, I go to their LinkedIn profile and some of their social media accounts to understand what kind of a person they are. So what I urge you to do is create the LinkedIn profile, make sure it represents you well and that you're very well advertised. Join our LinkedIn group, because we'll be posting job opportunities as we see them there as well. Then do not disrespect us or your peers by presenting their work as your own. We've got a whole situation with plagiarism that we won't be tolerating. Like we said, if you do work with other people, make sure you give credit where it is due, reference as much as you can, but also make sure that you're not presenting somebody else's work as your own. Then something which is more administrative around the virtual classes. So I see a lot of you have signed in with your Northwest University account. So your name and student number is already automatically registered. If you're logging in from the phone or from a guest account, please make sure you use your student number and your name so that we know who you are. Then the module outcomes are as they are in the study guide, so I'm not going to go into this in too much detail. Essentially, what we're trying to do is make sure that we give you an integrated knowledge of the different technologies that you can be using to complete the semester. We want to make sure that you understand how these technologies work with one another and what the process is behind it. By the end of the semester, I want to prepare you as best as possible to make you can go into industry, and depending on the kind of job that you want to take, depending on the role that you want to take, as Prof. Kutsia had mentioned, there are quite a few. I want you to understand what that life cycle looks like, and I want you to be able to say, I had this understanding of an end-to-end process, five different projects that made up one big project, and essentially that is what I have behind. I can say that I have successfully, been able to implement an end-to-end project. That is my hope for the end of this semester, and I really hope that you'll be able to entice yourself with the skills that you need to understand that life cycle and be able to implement, the different ways to analyze situations, evaluate situations, and put together solutions for them. So as soon as my screen stops freezing, just give me a second. Okay, so on to the marks. The way that it's the semester will be based on projects and a portfolio of evidence. So there won't be an exam, but you will be submitting your portfolio evidence as the exam. So what will happen is you'll get your project, which is an Agile and Scrum implementation project. That project will be mandatory. That project will count 25% to the end of your participation mark. The best 3 out of 4 remaining projects will count 25%. Just give me a second. Can you still see my screen?
Oh, we can see. Okay, everybody, just give us a sec. I
Okay,
think,
just give me a second. My
are you
PowerPoint has
there?
crashed.
Okay, thank you. Back.
No, I think there's a delay.
I just want to mention to the students in the lobby that you must please, or in the group, remember that you must log in with your student number first. Student number, surname, initial, otherwise we cannot track you. So, just remember to do that.
Okay, can you still hear me and see me okay?
I can hear you now, yes.
Perfect. Sorry about
you.
that.
I can see you.
Okay, great. My sincerest apologies. It seems like my computer decided it had enough this morning. Just getting the slides back up.
Okay, and the most important thing is if you log in with your NWU credentials, those of you who log in with that, that's perfect. It's when you're logging in without them, that's the problem. Then you must use your student number, surname, and initials. But if you are logging in with NWU credentials, your email address from NWU, then that's perfect. Okay, as long as I have your student number and surname, I'm happy.
Okay, Prof, it seems like my computer wants to.
Okay, everyone, I just apologize. We'll just have to wait a little bit. I think Ms. Miller is rejoining.
Okay, can everybody hear me again?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. My sincerest apologies. I had to just restart quickly. Let me just share my screen. Okay, let me know as soon as you can see, please. All right, can everybody see?
Yes, we can.
Great. All right, so before my computer decided to give up, what I was saying was the first project that you're going to get, which is the Agile and Scrum project, that is going to be mandatory 25% towards your participation mark. The remaining 3 or 4 projects will then count 25% each. So whichever 3 you do best in, those will be the 3 that count. Then what will happen is that participation mark will make up 50% of your module mark, and the other 50% will be made up by the portfolio of evidence. If you do not get 40% or more participation mark, you will not be able to submit your portfolio of evidence. The portfolio of evidence is essentially going to be a document that you need to complete throughout the semester, and we'll make that available in the next few weeks. But essentially, the portfolio of evidence is going to be what you present back to us to show us that you completed the semester, you did all the certifications that were expected of you, you did all of the projects, you learned a whole bunch of things, and essentially that'll be your way of showing us what you contributed this semester. All right, then we've already spoken quite a bit about plagiarism. Now, there's 2 sides to this because going into industry, one of the biggest challenges we have with graduates is that they still have the university mentality when they go into industry. So what I mean by that is they don't really want to share their work. They don't really want to share useful knowledge. You know, what Prof. Kutsia was saying about the YouTube channel is a really good example of that. Being able to engage with the community, being able to share your knowledge, that's something that's very much wanted and encouraged inside of industry. In the university setting, that makes things a little bit more difficult because you do get people with malicious intent who will use your knowledge against you and then actually present that work as their own. And then you get into a tricky situation where you end up, you know, having to please and explain for somebody else copying your work and you don't know a thing about it. So what we do want to do is make sure that you do have the opportunity to actually engage with the community, to share your knowledge, but also be responsible with what you do with the knowledge you're receiving from the community. Make sure you don't present it as your own without referencing, you know, where that is coming from. Find different solutions on public forums because that's going to be what you use going forward in industry. Stack Overflow, UiPath Forum, Microsoft Forum, all of those places are going to become your best friend. ChatGPT, being able to find out how to do certain things inside of, you know, different forums, that's essentially what ChatGPT scrapes as well. And we have found in some cases ChatGPT does give good answers, some cases not so much. But, you know, you've got all of these tools available to you. Make sure you use them and make sure you reference them. Then another thing for us, make sure that when you're working on your GitHub repositories that you make them private because your classmates might be snoops. They might be looking, you know, very innocently searching on the internet for a solution, and then they come across your profile that is public and use your solution as their own. We want to try avoid that as far as possible. So please make sure that your repositories are private until they've been marked. Make sure you do all of your referencing, as I've mentioned, and we're going to keep mentioning this because it's going to form part of every single project that you do. And then just another note that all projects are individual. Now, with that being said, we have said that we're going to try and prepare you as far as possible with this module to make sure that you have certifications, you have badges, you know how to use certain technologies to an industry standard while you're executing these projects. So some of the training that we're going to be expecting of you to complete is some Agile and Scrum training. We will give you links. We will provide, different sources that you can go look at, and you can decide which certifications and badges you're going to do. We're going to be expecting you to become familiar with source control. So we're going to be using GitHub predominantly. We're also going to be using Azure as a cloud technology. So we're going to be expecting you to be able to integrate with databases that are hosted on Azure, being able to create web apps and web APIs that are hosted on Azure. And then we want to get you familiar with a new technology, which you might or might not have heard of, which is UiPath. And that's very much geared around robotic process automation, hyper automation, intelligent automation, so on and so forth. Then the next one is Power BI, which I believe you guys are touching on in some of your other modules as well. But this is going to be where we start to look at the more advanced implementation of being able to draw power from your analytics. And then any other additional training that you want to do, that's up to you. The training that we're going to be providing and some of the recommendations that we make will definitely be, for free certifications, free badges, those kinds of things. If you decide you want to write a Microsoft exam, that's on you. We don't expect you to write an exam because that does cost money. But if you can get a free exam voucher, you're more than welcome to write the exam and then put that into your portfolio of evidence as well. What I urge you to remember is that what you're doing in this module is setting you up for what you're going to be doing in industry. If there was anything that I wished when I was sitting in your position was that I could have that bridging gap so that it wasn't, a very deep and very difficult transition to make. I had some form of guidance and I had some form of preparation. And this is what we want to do with this module. So this is going to be literally what you make of it. You're now being prepared the best way that we can to give you projects that will allow you to understand what industry project problems we're trying to solve, what projects are out there. We're trying to prepare you with certifications and badges because the reality of it is that when you go sit in an interview, you're going to be competing with people who might not necessarily have an IT degree. They might have an engineering degree. They might not have any degree at all. They might just have, Microsoft certifications. And in reality, the experience that they got learning from those Microsoft certifications might put them, at the forefront of what the position needs because of their experience. And the unfortunate reality is that's going to be what you face now when you start looking for jobs. So what we're trying to do with this module is make sure that you've got the best of both worlds. You've got your degree and you've also got the certs and the badges, but we can't do the certs and the badges for you. That is something that you need to take on yourself as well. And what I'm trying to say with that is that depending on the badges and the certifications and the exams that you write, that will determine, pretty much how seriously you want to take different technologies. So if you find, by project 4 that you're really enjoying UiPath and that's going to be what you want to do for, the foreseeable future, I would recommend that you go get certified in as many of the different paths in UiPath as possible. If you find that Azure Cloud Technologies is what you want to do, go do all of the training for the AZ exams. You don't necessarily have to write the exam, but all of the training material for the exams are available on Microsoft Learn. So those are the kinds of things that I really do want to urge you to start thinking about now. Don't leave it for the end of the semester. Don't try to fit it in right before your portfolio of evidence is due. Do them while you do the project, because if you do the training while you do the project, you are going to find it a lot easier to do the project. So that's just a piece of advice from my side. Then the project structure at the moment, like I said, each project will count 25%. The first one is mandatory and the remaining 4 will then be the best of the 3 will count. So that is the division. If anything is unclear, please let us know, but this is essentially how it's going to be broken up. Prof, do you want to cover the different, what the different projects entail?
Yes, thank you. Will you just move the slides?
Yes, I will do.
Okay, thank you very much then. Okay, so what we're now going to be doing is just briefly giving you an overview of what the 5 projects are about. And you don't have to stress now because we are going to give you, from next week, we're going to give you a full set of documentation that will describe exactly what is required for each of these projects. And we should be doing them one by one, but initially we have to read through all 5 projects to get a sense of what is expected for the whole year. And this is what project 1 essentially is all about. Now, project 1 is about Agile and Scrum. So Agile is then an approach that we have to software development that, it's basically an iterative type of development approach. And Scrum is an implementation of Agile. So we are going to be looking, at how For example, we are going to be running sprints of 2 weeks, where you are going to be implementing certain things in a 2-week sprint. And we are going to ask you, for example, to share then your experiences from that specific sprint. And we are going to be also be looking at source control, so you're going to be developing 4 different projects. Essentially, project 1 does not really have code that is going to be written, but the other projects all have code. And where do you store the code? And so we want to have the code stored in an integrated place, and that's where we will be following an industry standard that we will be source. But you have to know how to do it and how to use it, and for that purpose, we'll be using GitHub. But the whole idea of this project is that you will take project 1 to 5, you're going to read through all of them, you're going to look at all the dates, you're going to be looking at your weeks, you're going to do a proper planning. We are going to be showing you what a Kanban board looks like, and you're going to be then creating a planning. And this is how you typically, if you are a software developer working for a large company, you cannot just be given something and just jump in and go and do it. You have to plan your time, because time is money. And so this is what project 1 will be about, is doing proper planning, looking at all the different constraints, the training, the classes, the badges you're going to be doing, the implementations of writing this code. You'll have to just, understand, I have to write this method, that method, this code, and it'll take me so long. And you must make sure that in the end that we can see you are spending 11 hours a week. So those are the types of things we look here at. So it's all about planning, developing your plan for the term, making sure that you cover everything, and it is actually documented. It's a documented, it's just mainly a documentation project, project 1. And it's mandatory, and you have to do it. Okay, then we can go to project 2. Okay, you can also see the date is 10 August. So today is the 20th, so it's not too far. Okay, now we get to project 2, API development. So this is where we are going to now be discussing the HTTP protocol and exposing REST services via an API. So we're going to be looking at how the basics work of that, some basic training on what HTTP and APIs are. And then we are going to be implementing this in .NET Core. And .NET Core is a really good tool to use for this sort of thing. And there are many other tools out there that are similar, but you must use, in this course, we are going to be using .NET Core. And we are going to be developing our API, exposing information that comes out of a database. So we'll teach you, we'll show you, this is how you do create your database, and that's how you expose it. And then we are going to host this on the cloud, and we are going to be hosting your API on Azure. And this project I must warn you, the date, as you can see, is 31 August. So you must be doing planning. Just make sure that you get there. Now, there are people who think, oh, this doesn't look so difficult. I'm going to do it. I'm going to start 2 days before the time. And I can promise you, last year we had many people like that, and they did not make the due date. And the due date is 31 August. It means that if you don't hand in on 5 o'clock on 31 August, you are going to get naught. Just be aware of that. We are going to be very strict about that type of thing. So you must give yourself enough time and make sure, because when you start using new tools, there's always these little nitty-gritty things that you may sit with something for a whole day, then it's like a silly little problem. And those things you have to sort out before the time. And it's not something you can do in a day. So just be aware of that. And many people last year did not hand in project 2 because of this. It's an adjustment from your previous subjects, you cannot do something 2 days ahead of time. Okay, so now here we create our API. Then the next project. Okay, so the next project is standards and patterns. This is a very good project in terms of what's expected from industry. When we write code, we should not just be writing code in a very ad hoc way. If it's like, if you just write code as you wish, it's like reinventing the wheel all the time. But there are people out there that have really thought about it and have written and created design patterns and architectural patterns and then coding standards basics, the how do we do coding, clean code, for example. And we want to expose you in this project And here we are going to be looking more at the back end environment where we are doing data access. And we are going to, in this case, give you a project. You will say, here's the code, but you now have to change the code so that the code follows a certain pattern. And so this is then ensuring that you understand this pattern and how patterns work and why it's so important to use patterns in industry. And yeah, I think this is a really good exposure, because in industry, people do expect of people to know about patterns. There are many patterns out there, and then how to implement them in code. And we are also then going to be looking at the .NET Core MVC web application. In this case, yeah, we are going to expect of you to actually make use of that and then implement the web application and the way in which we are going to implement code, patterns. Okay, then project 4. Okay, now what you've now done to this point, you've done project 2 and you've done project 3. So project 2 was the API exposing data from the database. And then project 3 says, okay, well, let me now build a web interface, and I'm going to change the backend where we are accessing and doing interaction with our data. And so you've got now a basic web application going. And the next project that we now need to do is testing. So testing is a very important part of being an industry, to do testing in a sufficient manner to make sure that you cover all your bases with whatever you are testing. And doing this type of testing is very time consuming. And for that purpose, we have automation tools. And in this case, we are going to be using RPA, robotic process automation. And this, what we are going to do is now take your project 3. So you can see all your projects are integrated. We're going to take project 3, and we are now going to be writing, using UiPath, we are going to be writing these testing scripts that will then basically, the actions that a human would have done, a very comprehensive approach to testing. We are now going to use this tool to actually go and test that our application works very well. So this is something completely new to most of you, and it's something that's very interesting. It's some tool that is being used more and more in industry. It's a very practical way of doing testing, and I think it's a project that you are really going to enjoy, and it's really going to open your view on what's available in industry by doing this. So yeah, basically, so project 1 does the planning, then project 2 does the API, project 3 does the web MVC and the design pattern, and then project 4 takes it together, does the testing using an automated approach. And then what I want to mention is that in project 1, you do your planning for the whole term, but when you get to project 2, you have to revise your plan, because now you are going into detail. When you get to project 3, you have to revise your plan again, and we give marks for that. And then we get to project 4, you revise your plan. Each time you revise your plan, because initially when you do your planning, you're not sure exactly how it's going to go. So remember that in every project, we also give marks for you updating your planning properly. And then finally, project 5. And like we mentioned, project, we only give marks, to pass this, you only actually really have to do 4 projects. So project 5 can be optional. Now you can see we get to 26 October. And if you've done well in all your other projects, you don't have to do project 5. Or if, let's say, you have had some major issues somewhere with project 2, 3, or 4, you then have an opportunity to make up your mark here in project 5. So project 5 is then where we say, well, we've done all this work, we've got this application going, but now I want to show the user very useful information using data visualization basics and dashboarding. And it's a really nice project. People really enjoy this project. You are going to be using Power BI, connecting it to your database and your API endpoints. And you're going to be creating really meaningful reports and learning about the powerful configuration options that we have available in this project. And this takes us to the end of the term. And then by this time, we have all your marks. And what we also, like Ms. Miller said, in each case, go and do the badges, go and do the training. So, I can already say to you now, when we are here, just get going and start doing a badge or some training on Scrum or Agile or GitHub or something like that. Go and find yourself some small training course and just get going on it so long. As you saw, the first due date will be 10 August. Project 1 is not that complicated. But next week, we are going to start with the actual content. We're going to give you the projects. And then we are going to, show you how to go about it. And then you'll see from there, we'll just be on our way. And I think it's going to be a very enjoyable 5 projects that you're going to be doing. When you've done something like this, you can look back at it and really feel proud of yourself. It's individual work. Every single person submits their own project. And I think it's a really nicely integrated approach to doing this course and learning a lot of new skills as you continue through it, and then basically seeing how everything fits together in industry. Right, then that's basically all from me about the project. Would you like to add anything, Ms. Miller, that I may have forgotten or not have said?
No, I think that's perfectly fine. I think the only thing that we then still need to discuss is the portfolio of evidence. So like we mentioned, this is going to be something that you work on throughout the semester, making sure that you provide proof of all the training. So all the badges that you get, all the certifications that you do, keep them, keep screenshots of them, make sure that you put those on your LinkedIn profile. Make sure that you have proof of the forum contributions. So if you get stuck on one of the projects, let's say you're getting stuck on one of the Microsoft projects, and you go pop a question onto Stack Overflow or into the Microsoft forums, take a screenshot of that. Make sure that you have, proof of you asking questions and giving answers. If you go into the forum and you see there's somebody who's asked a question that you've now managed to solve around, answer the question, take a screenshot, keep that proof. Make sure you keep proof of all your project submissions, and then that is essentially going to be what goes into your portfolio of evidence. Don't wait till number 99 to gather all of the stuff, because you're most likely going to have lost it and then told us that you did do it, and then we don't have anything to go off of. Also, please don't try to do your contribution to the forums the day before you're submitting your portfolio of evidence. We caught quite a few people out last year doing that. So, please make sure that you do them timely, do them as you're doing the projects. The reason we're giving you this is to make sure that you know what tools are available to you. You need to start thinking more from a perspective of, you need to get things done because they add value, and no longer just getting things done because they need to get done. When you go into industry, these are the kinds of things that you need to complete because they add greater purpose. It's not just that you have to get it done so that you can get those 2 marks. The way that things happen in industry is vastly different, and that's what we're trying to prepare you for. I can't emphasize that enough. So then, what's next? I'd like all of you to please join the LinkedIn group once you've created your profile. So these slides will be available on eFundi. You can go into eFundi, access the slides, join the LinkedIn group, and then complete the Microsoft form. The Microsoft form is an introductory form to the module, where we just want to get to know a little bit more about you. We want to understand what you'd expect from us, where your current skill levels are. And we're going to put this into your portfolio of evidence for you so that when you reflect on it by the end of the semester, you can see how far you've come. I think it's a really nice experience to be able to reflect on what you did, which is also something we're going to be bringing in with the Scrum project. So for every project, there is going to be a retrospective where you need to answer 3 simple questions for us: what went well, what didn't go well, what could be done better. And those kind of questions help you evaluate your progress throughout the semester. Last year, one of the biggest items that came out of every single project was time management. Most students really battled with time management because they didn't do their project planning correctly. So I urge you to please make full use of all the things we're giving you. Put the effort in. You're not going to regret it. And then once again, just if you're feeling stressed, go ask Uncle Edward for some motivation. I always say study smart, not hard, and always have fun. This is going to be a really cool module if you let it be. Okay, then any questions? I know that the mics are disabled at this point, so if you want to pop your questions down into the chat, we can answer them there.
Okay, and I'd just like to mention, so what you basically do is, if you go to eFundi, there is a wiki there, and then all the important stuff that we are doing here that is really important that you need to note of, or things that I know that, okay, you're going to struggle with this, you're going to forget that. We are going to keep, you'll see, if you go to the wiki already, you'll see there is weeks there, the sprint weeks, and I'm going to post there important things for you to just, okay, this is what I must do this week, this is what I must do that week. So that's sort of the environment where you can just quickly have a look and see what's going on. What do I have to do? So yeah, all the slides and all the resources, the study guide and everything will be available on Effindi like normal. We will give you a link to where the recordings are. So everything, the foundation of the course is basically Effindi. All the links and everything else will be available there. Like last year, for example, I can just mention we gave documentation, like like how to document. How do I do this? So I spent a lot of time, perhaps doing this document, and then afterwards somebody would say, I never knew it was there. And it's very obvious where it is, but you have to go and look under the resources tab to see, well, there's the links to the study guides, the recordings, the slides, and then documentation, and the things are numbered and named very clearly. So don't miss out on important information just because you never looked. It's very obvious where the stuff should be, and we will make sure that if you have access to Effindi and you go through Effindi, that everything you need to know is on Effindi. So I can just mention that. Okay, so are there any questions? Anybody else? Okay, so somebody's asked, how do you provide proof of the training? It all depends on what training you've done, So for some, you would get certificates or badges that you can then submit. So those are formal things, yeah, and then it says here, for our portfolio of evidence, will the links be provided to do the certification and badges? No, you do your own. So there are so many new, they're coming out all the time. There are new ones available. And so you should then, we obviously wouldn't expect of you to pay for them. So there are many free ones out there. So you should go and find free ones, and there are many of them. And then go and do a proper it must be something that at least means something. And like I said, we only will really accept these things per project. So let's say we are doing GitHub. We do GitHub in project 1. So in project 1, in the next 2 weeks, you can do a badge and a certification. If you do that in November, it really does not mean much because we've given you all the marks and we've been working on GitHub for a long time by that time. So we only are really going to recognize the badges and certifications up to the date. So for API, it will be 31 August. So all certifications for API that you do before or cloud, before 31 August, that will count. But I don't want to see that you're going to do in November a certification on API because it's not really going to help at that point in time. Then you must be doing Power BI, for example. Okay, Udemy, yes, Udemy is amazing. If you want to go and get Udemy courses, they are all very good and they are very reputable. And just make sure, well, you can do it in your own time, but just make sure that you do get something formal from it. Okay, then how many certificates per project do you have to do? We don't want to put a limitation on that. But at least, the main thing for me is, what are you learning? Are you doing something meaningful? Tools, I don't want to say, like some people, if I say just do whatever, if the more you do, the more marks you do, you're going to go crazy. 1 or 2, we just want to see you've done some training, just do it sufficiently. We will still think about that. And so depending on how many you do, but for me, 1 or 2, I want you to, like for GitHub, do one on Agile, on Scrum, on GitHub, on Git, and whatever, but just make sure that you get some of them. So by the end of like we have 5 projects, and by the end of the year, you perhaps have 10 to 15 of these things. What do you think, Ms. Miller? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I think, at the end of the day, and this also relates back to the question, because I know some of the distance students might have already obtained some of these certifications because of the work that they do. What we're trying to do here is push you to be better. So if you've done a fundamentals course, let's say on Azure, push yourself to see if you can do the training to get a developer or a solution architect cert. The nice thing about, these kinds of certs are that you need to get value out of them, and that's essentially what we want to drive here. So if you feel that you need to do 5 certs before you can understand what the concept is about, then do 5 certs. If you feel like you grasped it after 1, then that's up to you. But the point of the certifications, and that comes back to the point I was saying, where we're not just doing them to say that we've done them. We're doing them to get value out of them. And the correct answer to that question, there isn't an absolute number we can put down, but at the end of the day, you need to be able to us and say, you confidently understood the content based on the number of certifications you had to complete.
Okay, then I see there's some questions on certifications from HackerRank and then also Code Wars ranking. Now, we are basically, obviously that is amazing if you've got a ranking, but we would like to rather look at certifications and anything that is relevant, So if you bring things that are, to me, it's mainly, is it relevant? Is it something that contributes to the knowledge at this point in time? Did you do it recently? Like, if you did something 6 months or a year ago, we want you to get things in this period of time that we are in now, to see that you've actually gone to the trouble of doing things. So that is my take on that.
Yeah, what I would maybe also just suggest is do put it in your portfolio of evidence.
Yeah.
For those of you who are keen on becoming, hardcore software devs, HackerRank and well, I don't really know Code Wars, but I know HackerRank is a really good place to pick up, projects that you can do, really small projects and little code exercises that you can do. A lot of organizations out there actually use HackerRank to test your technical abilities when you're doing interviews. So if you do want to practice your skills and you do want to get better at problem solving, HackerRank is a really good place to do it. I'd say add it to your portfolio of evidence, but don't rely on that as a certification.
Yeah, and then there's a question on the portfolio of evidence. That don't worry about that at this stage. We will give you all the information later on, more towards the end of the term, exactly on how to do it. But at this stage, we are just going to go through the motions of completing the projects. But it will be a combination of what you get from the projects. It all has to do, we will give you the requirements, attendance, for example, completing your sprints that we give you, completing the forms that we give you, basically just doing whatever we give you, do those things, and get good marks for your projects, do your certifications, and so forth. So it's basically a combination of all those things. And consultation hours, like we say, email us. We will, for me, for me personally, you can come and Tuesday afternoons is the best time for me. I will have that other class and you can see me then at that point in time. Otherwise email us and ask us for when we are available or whether we can sort it out and then we will have assistants as well who can answer some of your questions. Okay, there is no class on Friday. So the only 2 classes for Potch Campus will be Tuesdays at 2:30 and this class. Those are the only 2 classes that this Friday is available, but we are not going to be using it.
Yeah, and just on that for Vol Campus. So for Vol Campus, most of our classes are going to be virtual. It's going to be this session here from 9:30 till 11. The labs are also made available. So the schedule that you have access to that shows which slots you can use, that is when the lab has been booked out for you to go work on your projects if you need to. And then if there is, what we will do as part of our virtual sessions is gauge where the students are at. If there are quite a significant amount of queries or we see there is a need for a contact class, we will arrange it before time and we will go in on the Thursday during those slots and you will be made aware of when there is contact classes. So when there is a contact class, I will post it on Ifundi and we can work around that. But for the most part, the Vol Campus classes are going to be this class here. It's going to be virtual.
Okay. Yeah, see then on Tuesdays, the timetable shows the 2 rooms. Yeah, the 2 rooms are available, but I think we'll all fit into the 1 room. So it's the one on the right-hand side. I think it's 117. But yeah, I think the size of our group is, if everybody is there, we will all fit into that 1 class. Yeah. Yeah, so like somebody says, so when we mean badges, those are training badges, general training badges. If LinkedIn's got badges, you can also use them, but it's in general badges. You'll see if you search for badges and certifications, you'll see that you will then access quite a lot of that stuff. So I would say Google a free badge, let's say in GitHub or something like that, and that's how you'll find those courses. Okay, so somebody's asked, is it possible for Tuesday POCH class to be hybrid? So, but basically what I normally often would do is that I make the Tuesday class, I make a recording of for my distance group. So my distance group shouldn't stress and feel left out. You will get everything that we do. And the same applies for any VAL class that, you know, we will record those things and put them all together on one place. So don't worry, because you are in 3 different groups, you are missing out somewhere. It won't happen. We will make sure that if anything is done by anybody specifically, that will be recorded and it will be placed on the link that we will provide you where all the recordings will be. So especially my distance group, if you are here, don't stress, you will get everything we do.
Awesome. I don't see any other questions in the chats. Prof, do you think we can close the session?
Yes, we can close. I'm also complete.
Perfect.
Yeah, the distance students will not be marked for attendance. Yeah, these classes that we are in now, we cannot do that. You are working in the mornings. We just expect of you to watch the video afterwards. If you can attend, it's obviously good, but if you can't, it's not a problem. But the other students, Val and Potch, you will be given a mark for your attendance. And it's easy for us to then track that. And you know, if you're not here, you're not here, we can't give you a mark. Right then, everybody, it was nice chatting to you today and getting you started. So I will see you guys then on Tuesday. And then next week, on Thursday, we will then have our first full lecture and start with Project 1. Okay then.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.